Welcome, everyone, to the DCR Out Loud. My name is Tara McKinney, and I'm the Public Outreach Director of the Division of Cannabis Regulation. I'm here today with my co-host, Shayna. Hi, Shayna.
Hi, Tara. My name is Shayna Arndt. I am the Director for Patient and Application Services and recently freed from my allergies thanks to the switch in heat from the rain. How are you doing?
I don't know which is worse, man. This curly hair is going doing something with this humidity. It is bad.
We have an exciting show coming today, don't we?
We do. In this episode, we're going to talk to Ryan Bernard with the Testing and Research Unit, general updates, and of course, some micro minutes with Lesley. You ready to get to it?
My seat is in the upright position. My tray table is up. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
And now to Micro Minute with Lesley. Hi, Lesley.
Hi, Shayna.
How's it going?
Great. Wonderful.
That's awesome. We're so glad you're here today. What do you have going on in the Micro Minute?
So I've been getting a lot of phone calls about what do I do? What do I do while I'm sitting around waiting for my building to be finished, or I'm sitting around waiting for the next step to happen? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I thought I would give a suggestion about something that could get done pretty easily.
We love it. What do you have?
You need to apply for an agent ID. So all owners and anyone who will need access to your building will need to have an agent ID. And you have to apply online with DCR. So I don't know all the particulars, but I know somebody who does know a lot of particulars.
You're in luck. I'm here today.
So Shayna, can you give them some tips about what they need to get done in order to apply for their agent ID?
I can. So owners need an ID, like you said, to get into their building. Owners also go through their own fingerprint background check process. So it appears like owners are fingerprinted twice. However, they can use the same set of fingerprints for both ownership and the agent ID. So if they're looking for something to get accomplished, agent ID would be it. That's a great suggestion. The online application works the same for everyone, whether you work in the industry or you are an owner. So owners should go ahead and apply for an agent ID using the online registry portal, and they will submit their application. They need a clear color photo of their face, a clear photo of their government issued photo ID, and an offer letter, which as an owner, maybe not going to have an offer letter, but we need just something on letterhead that says I'm the owner. Here's my name. Here's my facility license number. We'll then verify that with the facility license. When we get an application for an agent ID, there's nowhere in there to indicate if you're already an owner and have fingerprints. So we use this standard process, and the terminology used in the website is reject. And that's a big scary word. It sounds very similar to deny, but they are different things. So we do send the application back in a form of a quote rejection. That is just us letting the applicant know, hey, we're ready for fingerprints. There's also an opportunity in there for us to say, if your digital photo is cut off or if something is missing, we'll ask for that at the same time. If you're a micro business owner and you've already gone through fingerprinting, when you get that rejection letter and phone call, because we'll call, you can use that same TCN and send it back to us. And with agents that are not owners, at that point, they would go get their fingerprints done. So it's a bit of a quicker turnaround for owners if they've already had that done. And then once that TCN is sent back to us, we ask that they resubmit their application. And there's a lot that goes into owning a micro business more than just this. So all of that to say, there's a lot that owners have to contend with. So when it comes to getting an agent ID, the individual licensing unit is incredible. They run the call center. So I'd say give them a call, press 6, that'll get you to an agent. And we can't do the process for agent ID card holders, but we can help them through step by step. So anything that, owners are coming across issues with knowing how to navigate the system or not really understanding reject versus deny, give us a call. We're happy to walk y'all through it. There's plenty going on that, you have to keep track of. And we want to make this as easy as we can with the system that we have to use.
And I just want to remind everybody that it is a process.
It is.
So when you apply, more than likely you're not going to get that agent ID the next day. Right. It's going to take a little bit of time. So patience is key. And as long as you have all of the correct items for the application, it should go pretty smoothly.
Absolutely. And I would say give it a good 2-week buffer just to be safe. But if you already have been fingerprinted for ownership, that will help. The sooner you get that number back to us, that will help with our processing times. But that's a good mention. I think, we have to process applications in the order they're received. So we can't jump the line for owners or anything like that. But I would say give it about 2 weeks and you can call and check. We'll give you a status update. If it's still just being processed, we'll let you know, but just give us a call. We're happy to help.
That's it for me on micro minutes, and I'll be back next time with more tips.
All right. Thanks, Lesley, for being here. And that process is the same whether you're a micro business or a licensee.
Mm-hmm. Or someone
owner,
just working at a facility. Absolutely. Yeah. An agent ID is an agent ID. So we treat them all the same, but we try to make it efficient. We understand, it's tied to people's employment and ownership. So we try to get through it as efficiently as we can.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Lesley. See you next time. One of the big hot topics floating around these days is the reference lab testing that will begin on July 1.
Yeah, and at this moment, while we're recording, that's just a few days away.
Gosh, I just can't believe that we're already going into July. It just seems like we started June just a little bit ago.
It sure has gone fast. January felt like the longest year ever, and then since then it's just flown by.
Right.
So we're midsummer already. And today we want to welcome Ryan. We know you are super popular these days, and we're glad you're here to talk to our podcast listeners about upcoming testing sampling.
Shayna, Tara, it's so wonderful to be back on the podcast. It is such a huge milestone that we're meeting with the reference lab going on board July 1st.
So exciting.
We know that there's been a lot of information going out about this. So we've done that on purpose. We've had you on the podcast before. We had you present with MCRC. You were at the licensee learning session. What else? I'm missing some stuff, I know.
So we also caught MoCan. And then I was also recently wrote about in Missouri Independent, and they aired me on KOMU. So I got a couple seconds of fame there.
Superstar.
Well, and that's a lot of communication going out in several different directions. And as Tara mentioned, we have you back on here. So can you recap for us what you've already been saying out there and maybe provide any clarification that's needed after your forays out into the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be just another arm of compliance, guys. So keep this business as usual 100% of the time. If we come into your facility, we're going to have written documentation for you that is going to be able to support you for the movements that are going to be taking place. So for right now, current procedures are that we're going to be severing the tag information with the production batch. And then with that production batch, we'll be able to transfer that material back to State Public Health Lab. And in turn, the supply chain will remain intact. You'll be able to move that material in and out freely, and you should do so.
And are there any costs coming from the licensees for sample transport or testing?
Nope. This is going to be 100% built inside of either DCR's budget or State Public Health Lab's budget. So this will not be seen by the licensees as far as testing or transportation is concerned.
How large of samples are you actually going to be taking when you go out there?
Yeah, so we're going to be taking the sample quantity per test. It's not going to be a full representative sample to start with. So we're looking at 4 to 7 grams of material. And I want to make a caveat, since this is final finished marijuana goods, if a package has more than the 4 to 7 grams, then we'll just take the whole package. So it'll just be one. And just a reminder again, I just want to reiterate, it's going to be start as 1 tag per facility, meaning that we're not looking to take 10 tags from a single facility. It's just going to be one. We're going to start with 1 tag. And then as the infrastructure is developed at the State Public Health Lab, we'll slowly start increasing that out.
So is this all going to be flour or gummies, or are you going to take different things from different facilities?
So the beautiful thing about our industry, or the cannabis industry right now, is that you all produce a vast amount of material. And as such, I'm going to be randomly selecting based off the inventory that you have in a snapshot of time. Meaning, so if it's today, I would go into our seed to sale system, pull your inventory down, and then just randomly select a sample to come to your facility to take. And of course, there will be backups since it is material moving in and out of facilities so quickly. That is something that you can communicate with the testing and research unit whenever we arrive that, hey, this material's already been manifested. We'll just pick a backup sample at that point. Again, we're looking to be as least of a business impact as possible here.
So what happens if a product fails when it's at the reference lab?
So if a product fails at the reference lab, we'll be returning back to your facility to collect a full representative sample at this point. So exactly like what rule outlines in 19 CSR 101.110. And if that product fails, at that point, we're going to initiate an investigation. And exactly like what I spoke to during the learning licensee session, that if the material is no longer available at the originating facility, at that point, we may sample from dispensaries.
Good to know. Is there anything else that our licensees can do to prepare for July 1st? We know this is all new to them, but I think we've really gotten a lot of good information out there. And is there anything else they need to know?
Yeah, just, since there will be testing taking place, these results aren't going to be forward facing, meaning that the licensees are not going to be able to see them. But again, for transparency, feel free to reach out to the testing and research unit for those results. And I think that's something we can actively discuss in providing to the licensees for that result. But again, if a product is passing, it's business as usual for you all.
Okay, and what's the best way to reach your unit?
Of course, you can go through Tara McKinney to get to us.
That's me.
Yeah, or you can go through an email testing and research unit, and that's a good way to get a hold of us as well. That's a group box that both our compliance officers, our research scientists, and myself have access to.
All right, that's great. Well, thank you for being here again. And I'm sure we'll reach out to you to give us an update on how things are going out there. Good luck on July 1st.
Thank you.
Good luck. Happy testing.
Happy testing.
Okay, well, this was a short and quick episode that we had today. We do have some general updates to do, but really it's been busy. So
That has keeping this one short and sweet, just like us. For general updates, I'm going to tell you all about agent IDs. So we are in the process of fingerprinting active agent ID holders. We are about 35% complete, which is pretty impressive. We started in February, so we've been at it 4 months, and we're about 35% done. We have posted a tentative summer schedule that will be requesting fingerprints from active agents. Our request process is based on the date that the ID card was approved. We have sent out a message to the impacted agents and designated contacts for all facilities for the summer. Anyone with an active ID card that was approved between May 1st, 2023 and January 30th, 2024 should keep an eye on their email. Contact us if you need to update your email address or if you have questions. As always, just a general reminder to please wait to submit fingerprints until we ask. Those emails will come straight to the agent ID card holder from sender cannabis@health.mo.gov. For owners as agents, I know Lesley did her micro minute on that, but just a couple of reminders on that as well. New and renewing agent ID applicants are now required to submit fingerprints as part of the application process. Owners who have previously undergone fingerprint for ownership and then apply for an agent ID card, they have to go through the same application process, but they can be allowed to use the same TCN that was submitted for the ownership background check. Caveat here. We can accept ownership fingerprints provided that they were not submitted before February 2025. For context on that, that's when we started requesting fingerprints from owners. So any prints submitted prior to that are likely not under the new DCR code given to us by the FBI. The group most impacted by this right now, as we know, is microbusiness owners, which we spoke about earlier. Owners applying for an agent ID card can contact the individual licensing unit directly for more information. They can be reached at cannabisinfo@health.mo.gov or through the call center 1-866-219-0165 and press 6 to speak to a team member. The call center is available 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Any questions about the application process before, during, staff can help owners through that process. I mentioned earlier, we're not allowed to do this process for applicants, but we can help walk you through it, so call us.
DCR held a licensee learning session on June 23rd. There were over 70 attendees in each session. There was a morning and afternoon session. Topics included management companies, ownership disputes, failed mandatory testing, variances, packaging and labeling, packaging at facilities, and packaging adjustments and other metric issues. Thank you for everyone who attended, and thank you to DCR staff who put those presentations together. It was great.
We have a very interesting update about patient counts. The number of active medical ID cards is on the rise. For historical context, we hit the highest patient count in November of 2022, right at 205,000 patients. Once adult use came into existence, we initially saw a decline in the patient count, with the low being in December 2023 at about 106,000 patients. However, since that December of 2023, patient counts have continued to increase, with a count of 123,000 just this last month. We're not quite through June, but but have continued to see an increase in the number of active patients. This confirms what we already know to be true, that there's a lot of benefit in the medical program. And now that DCR is more established, we look forward to sharing more education and information about the medical program. If anyone out there listening is interested in the medical marijuana program, give the call center a shout. We can answer all of your questions and provide application support through the process.
DCR is excited to announce membership openings within the Missouri Cannabis Regulation Collaborative, also known as MCRC. Membership is limited to specific region and facility, and those are cultivation, St. Louis, 1 vacancy, dispensary, Kansas City and Central, each with 1 vacancy. Manufacturers, there are currently no vacancies. Testing, any region, 1. Transportation, any region, 1. Microbusiness wholesale, St. Louis and Kansas City, 1 each. Microbusiness dispensary, St. Louis and Kansas City, 1 each. In case you are not familiar with MCRC, the collaborative currently has 22 members and is a working group of licensees and regulators to strengthen relationships, discuss challenges, problem solve, and share information and knowledge to pursue our mutual goal of a safe and successful cannabis program. The emphasis of the collaborative will be to work on big picture topics surrounding the cannabis industry, such as drug rescheduling impacts statewide and programmatic planning, market conditions, farm bill revisions, and much more. We are currently meeting quarterly. We've had, I think, 3 consecutive meetings. It's a really great group. More information about MCRC membership will be coming out soon via email to designated contacts and our subscription emails. Keep in mind that individuals that apply do have to get the consent of their designated contact and attest to that on their application. Be looking out for more. If you have any questions, you can contact me at tara.mckinney@health.mo.gov.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up for today, doesn't it?
That's a wrap.
We want to thank everyone for tuning in with us today. We hope that you are keeping cool out there, enjoying the Missouri summer for all that it's worth.
Have a great summer, everyone. I think next month, Amy Moore will be back in the house.
Oh, we've missed her.
Yeah. So we'll see you next month with more information. There's lots of ways to stay informed between episodes. We have the Cannabis Connection newsletter, our subscription email list,
outreach events,
and more. Find all of that at cannabis.mo.gov and click on the DCR Communications and Resource tile.
Thanks again, everyone.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast content is intended for adults over the age of 21 years old and is best to be used for informational purposes only. The content does not constitute official compliance or regulatory guidance. The department and author assumes no responsibility or liability for any errors or omissions in the content of this podcast. The information contained in this podcast is provided on an as-is basis with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness. Cannabis licensees should consult with their assigned compliance officer for rules and regulations specific to their facility. The content is not intended to diagnose or treat any medical condition and should not be relied on for any medical purposes. Patients and the public should consult with their healthcare providers about medical-related questions and the impact of cannabis on health. If you believe you are having a medical emergency, call emergency services. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed herein are those of the authors, presenters, and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor an endorsement by, the U.S. government, Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, or the government of the state of Missouri.